We have got a couple of speakers tonight. We've got a jam-packed agenda, and we hope to be all wrapped up by 8 p.m. so everybody can have their dinner. So thanks everybody for taking the time out at the last day of May of 2022 to attend this inaugural AGM of the EV Association of Northern Ireland. We will be publicising this recording later, and I can give you a quick overview as to what the agenda is going to be like this evening. So agenda-wise, we are going to be looking at, I'll just move the slide on. Welcome from myself, Derek Reilly. Chairman's report will be Mark McCall. We're going to have a poll then, so there will be some interaction. There will be polls throughout the night. We're going to have about 5 of them. We're going to have a presentation from EasyGo from Gareth Morrow. Then we're going to have our Treasurer's report, Mark Boyle. A presentation from the FASTER project, which is Pamela Arthurs. We're going to have a committee report from Ronan. We're going to have a membership report from Darren, and then we're going to close out with myself. So that's the agenda for tonight. As I said, if you can't wait for the whole meeting, it is being recorded and we will be publicising it later on. So people are coming in there at the moment. We've over 20 people already watching this. So it's great to see that interest. Lots happening in Northern Ireland at the moment. Mark, do you want to jump in and we'll kick off straight away with your chairman's report?
Thanks, Derek. Welcome, everyone. I'm Mark McCall, Chair of the EV Association Northern Ireland. Many thanks for attending our first AGM, and thanks especially for the commitment you've shown as a paying member of the association. We very much appreciate your support. By way of a little background, our group was originally founded in 2016, and then in March last year made the transition from NI-EV owners to the EV Association Northern Ireland. It's a new not-for-profit community interest company. We're indebted to Mark Stockdale of A&L Goodbody Solicitors for their pro bono work to set up the company, and also to EVA Scotland, EVA England, the Irish EV Owners Association, and our colleagues who are setting up in Wales too. We use figures from the Department for Transport each quarter, and just last week the final numbers for 2021 were published. This graph shows the cumulative growth, and there are now 8,501 EVs registered in Northern Ireland. Year-on-year sales for plug-in vehicles registered here have more than doubled, going from 1,680 for 2020 to 3,779 in 2021. According to the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, plug-in vehicles now make up 2.2% of cars in England, 1.6% in Scotland, and 0.8% in Wales and Northern Ireland. I guess research has shown that a highly visible, fit-for-purpose public charging network is required to provide peace of mind for those considering the move to EVs. So sales here could undoubtedly have been higher over the last few years had our infrastructure not been so poor. And the next slide shows us a breakdown of those numbers, that 8,500 vehicles in the fleet now by council area. Rising fossil fuel costs mean more people are considering the move to an EV, although with the ongoing supply constraints, particularly around semiconductors, it's uncertain what numbers will do in the short term. However, a large multi-dealer retailer described a tsunami of EVs heading for these shores perhaps a year from now. The low benefit in kind rate continues to see significant numbers of company car drivers move to EVs, and we hope to see the fledgling used car market grow as these vehicles start to come off business leases. We also look forward to seeing more affordable, smaller EV arrives, as well as greater choices of things like 7-seaters. So then, what does this all mean for public charging here? Next slide there, please. In December last year, the Department for Infrastructure published research which they commissioned from the Steer Group. That report forecasts between 60,000 and 125,000 EVs in Northern Ireland by 2025, increasing to 400,000 by 2035. The same report finds that Northern Ireland will need 1,415 public chargers by 2025, recommending around 2/3 of those are rapids. So that's around 950 DC chargers required here by 2025. Today, there are still only around 20 rapids currently in the province, and many of those, like in Uri and Enniskillen, for example, have been offline for extended periods. 2025 is just 31 months away, so we would need to install 30 new rapid chargers each and every month between now and then to hit that target recommended by the steer group. You've seen us share this chart, hopefully, of rapid chargers per 100,000 population each quarter, as we believe it's one of the fairest and best visual representations of how things are in Northern Ireland. And actually, we've been able to show that the latest figure of 1.3 in this chart is incorrect. Darren has been working with ZapMap, who supply these figures to the Department of Transport. When a rapid charger is replaced here, it's added to the total. However, the old machine being removed is not subtracted from the count. So we're still probably sitting at something more like a 1.1 here, around 1/7 of the GB average. DFI has spent tens of millions on much needed and very welcome projects around public transport and active travel here. 10.2 million to bring a new electricity supply and installing chargers for 38 buses in a single depot, for example. Yet despite cars accounting for 84% of miles travelled in Northern Ireland, DFI offered just 350,000 for EV infrastructure projects here in the last 12 months. This huge spending imbalance cannot continue. It's clear looking at these graphics from DFI's own travel survey that decarbonising car journeys should be prioritised. Indeed, the Climate Change Committee has stated that the full transition to electric vehicles will be one of the most important actions to achieve the UK's net zero target. We would also very much like to see executive ministers and any senior civil servants involved with policy becoming EV drivers. We believe this single action would probably do more to progress the executive's understanding of charging issues here than anything else. The energy strategy was published in December, and we urgently need to see the executive get back to work to start turning its principles into policy. The new climate bill also now ensures that the Department for Infrastructure must plan for the future and, quote, develop and publish sectoral plans for infrastructure sector, setting out how the sector will contribute to the achievement of targets. So we continue to focus the majority of our efforts on lobbying for a vastly improved public charging network here. We've held close to 200 meetings, engaging with more than 50 stakeholders since January 21. And we believe that the breadth of our outreach means that we have a unique overview of the issues here. As well as the organisations on this slide, we have engaged with MLAs from 6 parties, all 11 councils, Belfast City Airport, energy providers, multiple charge point operators, OZEV, the Energy Saving Trust, TransLink, Tourism NI, taxi operators, the Competition and Markets Authority, Sustainable NI, the National Franchise Dealers Association, the National Trust, the NI Housing Executive, the Ulster Farmers Union, the Motorcycle Action Group UK, the British Motorcycle Federation, amongst others. We are members of the Global EV Alliance, the EV Alliance UK and Ireland, and we sit on the CBI Northern Ireland EV Working Group. We are also members of the ZEMO Partnership, an influential Westminster-funded organisation that helps to shape UK policy. In the first half of 2021, we released our 6-step plan for change here, and in one of our most significant achievements to date, our calls for an EV task force to be formed were heeded. Last October, EVANI was invited to sit on the newly formed Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Task Force for Northern Ireland. This group is due to issue its recommendations by late autumn this year. We are delighted to see several major projects in the works from ESB, EasyGo, Weave, Faster, the consortium of councils, as well as plans for Maxol, GridServe, Everrun, Tesco, and several other choice point operators we're talking to at the moment that aren't quite ready to reveal their plans just yet. These announcements will mean we should see significant improvement here in the next 18 to 24 months. On a side note, last October, ESB told us they had hoped to turn on pay to charge here for the first half of 2022. This now looks likely to be the second half instead. We continue to believe that this single action will alleviate many of the day-to-day issues we're seeing around the availability of the current infrastructure. It's great to see multiple public charging schemes now coming to Northern Ireland, and we're particularly pleased with the announcements around new rapid charging hubs, which will be most welcomed. Now that investment has arrived, the most pressing issues are around grid capacity, connection pricing, and network planning. The changes recently announced by Ofgem mean that the costs for new charger connections are set to widen even further between GB and NI next year. We urge DFI, DFE, the utility regulator, and our DNO to work hard together to solve these issues. We must ease the path for all charge point operators investing in Northern Ireland. Despite the challenges of COVID, we held a small face-to-face meeting in Belfast last September. Then last month, we were delighted to partner with Fleet Financial, who organised this lineup of 15 of the latest EVs from local dealerships. There were over 50 test drives completed in just 2 hours at Mollusk, and our committee members were on hand to chat to the EV curious and dispel some of those misconceptions around electric vehicle ownership. We attended the launch of the new Nissan Ariya in Oma last month, and we would like to hold at least one member meeting in the West in the next 12 months. If you can help with the location, please get in touch. We continue to update our website with reviews on some of the latest models. Look out for the Citroen e-Berlingo coming next, along with information for first-time EV drivers. Our news section is the best place to stay up to date with local developments too. We launched individual EVANI membership in late 21, and Darren will give us a membership update later this evening. We also welcome 13 new corporate members too. These include all 3 of Northern Ireland's largest car dealerships, plus leasing companies, charge point operators and installers, energy suppliers and professional services. Thank you to all our members for their valued support. Ronan will give you a quick report on the committee later this evening, and I believe we have a seat available there shortly. If you can genuinely spare a few hours a week and have a passion to get things done, then please get in touch. We will also be publishing our second annual EV survey in the coming weeks, and we would encourage everyone to complete it and also to share it with friends too, please. This data is invaluable in our stakeholder meetings and will also help us feed into the Stormont EV task force as well. So then, despite the challenges, we remain upbeat on electrification of transport here. EV sales are accelerating, and for the first time since we formed in 2016, we can see genuine progress coming on charging infrastructure. Thank you to my fellow directors, to the committee, and once again to all our individual and corporate members. Your support is instrumental in driving the association forward. Back to you, Derek.
Thank you, Mark. Excellent presentation, and great to hear about that survey coming down the line. Having these wider surveys is important, but we're going to run our first poll of the night now, and we're going to be collecting this data as well so that we can talk to our stakeholders and being able to share this data. So I think it's Darren that's running the polls. So you should see a poll coming up on the screen. So what influenced you most to get an electric vehicle if you have an electric vehicle? Was it running costs? Was it environmental benefits? Was it tax benefits, the improved performance, the improved driving experience, or other? And if you click other, let us know by sending Darren through the other reason that we haven't listed here. So 12 of the 19 people have participated, 14, 15, getting up there, very good. 19 of 19, excellent. So we have environmental benefits coming out on top, which is great. Lower running costs, improved driving experience, tax benefits. Nobody says that they're improved performance here now, which I'd hard to believe there. Now Mark is smiling away. I don't know how many penalty points he has, but great to see why people have made the decision to go on electric or an electrified vehicle. So thank you very much for that. And we'll have other polls throughout the night, but the environmental benefits is definitely one of the main reasons for going electric or electrified.
Eric, the 2 others, one was it's a business car, and the other one was the infrastructure was there. But it's not really being used. So it was a good. I mean, it sort of falls into some of the other ones as well with some of the other reasons, but those were the 2 other reasons.
business car, and the infrastructure was already there, so like lower running costs potentially. But yeah, that's good to hear as well. And definitely we can see fleets and more businesses deciding to go electric for their fleets. So thank you, Darren, and thank you for everybody who participated in that poll. Next up, we have a presentation from Gareth from EasyGo. Gareth, I'll hand over to you, and either you can share your screen, or as we said, I think Darren is going to share the slides for you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, thanks for having us along, everybody. Mark and Ronan and Darren and the team. Delighted to be here and give you a brief overview, basically, of what we at EasyGo are doing here locally to help build the local infrastructure, which we all know as part of the adoption for EVs is sorely needed, especially in Northern Ireland being so far behind, and the barriers that we all have. So I'll just keep it as brief as possible. We're trying to do 15 minutes, obviously. So before we move on, I'll go through the slides then. Basically, who we are. Hopefully, most of you will have heard of us, being sort of early adopters, as it were, to the EV motoring scene. EasyGo is the largest privately owned electric vehicle charging network in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. We've been operating down south in Ireland for near on 5 years now. And recently we have come up here in the north, opened up offices in Belfast. And there's myself, Gareth, I look after the marketing, and my colleague Colin, who looks after the business and commercial side of things. So we're heading up the north here itself from the start of this year, 2022, to obviously develop it further and sort of bring all the experience and the suppliers and the infrastructure and know-how for the network, basically, and everything up into Northern Ireland to try and build it out here for everybody else. The unique thing about EasyGo, I suppose, with ourselves is that we do have interoperability, so we are able to host and manage access to over 2,400 charge points. So on our network, you will have EasyGo, and on the app there'll be the ESB eCars chargers, as well as Ionity, which makes up 2,400, nearly 2,500 points across Ireland. At the minute, we have over 20,000 local EV drivers in Ireland and Northern Ireland that are registered on the EasyGo app. And again, once they download that and become members, they can see all the live status of all the EV chargers that are in the public network across Ireland. All ESB, EasyGo and Ionity ones, and see what the cost is. They can stop them, they can start them, and it's all there on the app, just to sort of identify everything and see what's available as you plan your route, basically. Over the last while, we've had a considerable amount of growth, so we've now got 24 staff members. As I mentioned, myself and Colin here are up in Belfast, and we're in the Catalyst Innovation Centre just down the Titanic Quarter, and the head office for our team in Ireland is just outside Dublin, in Maynooth Business Campus as well. So that's where everybody's based, and we obviously have a team of installers that are based around the country as well, which look after the installation and maintenance of the charge points that we operate. A bit then about what we do. So ourselves, we're on a mission to build the local EV charging infrastructure itself for the drivers in Northern Ireland to become more sustainable and transition to safer motoring by being the best EV network provider possible. We offer a complete solution, basically, at EasyGo. We will supply, install, and maintain EV chargers in the home, so domestic chargers, domestic installation, workplace, and the public network as well, which is obviously what we're talking about more so here tonight itself. But we do everything, basically. We're OSEF approved, obviously, here in Northern Ireland for the UK, and there's the grants and everything that you can avail of for that for workplace charging itself. In Northern Ireland, yes, we currently have all the little stores and staff premises as well. We operate. So there's 9 little stores in Northern Ireland that you'll have seen the EasyGo chargers installed in there. Those are currently 22 kilowatt destination chargers. And we have all the little stores down in the south of Ireland also. We look after a lot of commercial retail and property as well itself. And recently, at the end of last year, it was November 2021, the investment funding was 15 million, so 12.5 million pounds that we had secured from our private funders to solely look at installing DC rapid chargers across Ireland. So there's 100 of those that we have earmarked that are coming for Northern Ireland. Right across Northern Ireland, obviously, we want to build that network, as you mentioned earlier, Mark, about west of the province and northwest as well. So it'll be both in rural, urban areas, towns and countryside as well, that we obviously want to put as many of the rapid DC chargers in as many places as possible. So the idea is that we'll put them right across Northern Ireland, and with a timeline of sort of mid to late 2024 for that as well. And also there'll be multiple AC 22 kilowatt chargers in as many locations as we can. So we're working with partners that will host the chargers that are in ideal locations for people to charge, obviously, that are safe, convenient, comfortable, and ideal to stop off at as a destination across a multitude of sectors, as it were, itself. A little bit more about who we work with. So these are some of the businesses, obviously, with the established business we have in Ireland itself, in the Republic of Ireland. Some of our partners includes major companies you will have heard of, like, as I said, all the little stores. We've a number of Decathlon and Starbucks and IKEA, SuperValu and Centra, the likes of forecourts as well. We work with a lot of petrol station forecourts, which are obviously on major throughput routes as well, A roads and B roads and motorways. Maldron hotels, we do a lot of hotels. It's one of the places where there can be destination chargers, so DC and AC rapid chargers as well. That will benefit those guests that will go to those places. So we work with restaurants and hotels, as I mentioned, Maldron and Delata Group and Radisson, and a lot of major ones down south. You've got Adair Manor and Porscourt as well. And then there's other companies like Bord Gosh and Post. So, for example, with those, we would do, which I'll touch on later, a bit of a sort of complete fleet solution, as it were, for their staff and their employees, if they are obviously transitioning to an electric fleet, where we can install the chargers in the workplace, in the home, and the public, and then obviously as a network. Then there's a portal in the back office there where they can use and get reports on basically all the usage and the energy management and the savings that are involved, which is quite unique. So there's many more. I've just touched on a few there itself, but it just covers, as I say, a range of sectors, as it were, everything from retail and shopping centres, forecourts and car parks itself. You might have recently heard that we have worked in a partnership with Air. We were previously Aircom, telecommunications company in Ireland. And we've worked with them on a unique project to develop something like looking at the sort of redundant telephone kiosks or telephone boxes in local county council areas. So we are working very closely with a lot of the councils in Ireland on that project itself to offer free chargers to them, where they can obviously build out a local infrastructure. And the uptake since we launched on the 5th of May there in County Carlow. A number of DC rapid sites. I think there was seven sites in total, 4 of them being rapid. And yeah, it's been fabulous uptake there, which is great. And it's given us a platform then to speak to more councils as they look at their strategy and what they want to do to obviously come on board and build out the infrastructure, which I think they know they need to do, obviously. So it's an opportunity and an avenue for them to explore with that itself. So it's very exciting. A little bit about our suppliers then. We, as I said, have been operating for 5 years at the minute. We have deal with 3 main sort of charging companies. So Tritium would be the one that we would use for our DC chargers. A lot of suppliers our charge point operators will be using Tritium as well, the likes of some of the larger petrol companies, etc., that are coming on board now will have Tritium ones. Very, very good. Tried and tested Australian company that are used right across the world, basically. E-Trail is another one we use for our AC chargers. They're the ones that we have in workplaces and little and destination chargers as well. And then Wallbox being one of the most well-known domestic chargers also. So we use those and install those in homes as well. And again, with our experience, I suppose over those number of years, we've tried and tested other products, but those three are the ones that have obviously been the most reliable for us and the most beneficial for our customers as well in terms of operating and performance and longevity, basically. A little bit about the tritium chargers then. That they are quite unique in the fact that they have quite a small sort of footprint. They can be put into quite a lot of car parks and locations that there would be otherwise, tricky to install in. They are both CCS and CHAdeMO points at the minute. They will be contactless. So we do have obviously the usage for the app where you can use the app to stop and start it, but there is contact payments that are now in the new 50 kilowatt and 75 kilowatt units that we have there, which is great. So again, from a new kind of EV driver's perspective, obviously we want to get more tourists here in Northern Ireland, being very big on their attracting tourists and renting vehicles, and obviously with the likes of vehicle rental companies now getting more EVs on their fleet, it's an important part of that as well. So the good thing is, yeah, we can use contactless as well as the app, which is a big cry from a lot of surveys that we've seen also, which is good. And there's the option to possibly put an overstay fee. Obviously, certain places might want that itself. There's a bit of contest between do we do it or do we not. We will speak to areas and partners and hosts if they want to do it itself. It can be a good thing over 45 minutes. I know ASB are looking to put it in as well, so it's something that's there to potentially free up the chargers so they're not used for an enormous amount of time, so that the next person can use them as well. So some good features and benefits there itself. Looking at the locations itself here in Northern Ireland, we have identified areas. Obviously, there are places right across Northern Ireland, as I mentioned earlier, urban and rural areas. We've looked at areas that obviously there's going to be some black spots. There's no chargers that, for example, in Newton Ards, there's Oma and Strabane and Enniskillen and right across into the northwest, and it's not just going to be sort of the main city areas as well, but obviously wherever the biggest sort of usage and registrations and sales of EVs are is where we want to fit as many as possible. But I suppose our plan is really to install as many across a network as we can, rather than just sort of putting a lot in one space and then another lot in another space. And in that distance in between, there's people will have to travel to get to them. So we want to try and cover everywhere basically as much as we can. And the good thing about it is that also as we progress and as the infrastructure builds and more EVs come on board, once you start the simple thing with the hardware and the chargers that we have is they are totally scalable. So one place might start with 2, and then as things pick up and there's more chargers happening and sessions happening, that could increase to 4 or 6, etc. It's the same as a lot of hotels that we're dealing with. They've started off with a small number, and they've increased right up to larger numbers as that sort of demand has increased as well. So it's quite scalable, which is good. Again, looking at the areas, we obviously are aware we want to make sure that for EV drivers, both male and female, young and old, we want to make sure that those areas are locations that are convenient, so they're safe, secure, accessible, and comfortable as well. So in your surveys, obviously, feedback and stuff that we get from people would be that that they want to charge. What is it they do when they charge that? Do you want to go for some leisure activity? Most people will go and grab a coffee or a bite to eat, or go for a walk if the weather's good, or just do something while the car is charging and then come back. And obviously they've got enough juice there to sort of get them on their way pretty much. So it's an important thing, and it's also something important for wheelchair accessibility and access as well for the chargers. And the tritium chargers that we have for the DCs and the ACs are ones that are at a good height, and you've got the screen as well, the LCD screen, which is at a good height for lower areas within the charger itself. So the rapid chargers, as mentioned, DC ones are 50 kilowatt and 75 kilowatt chargers. And as I mentioned, there's CCS and Chanamo on there as well. It's obviously important as more cars are CCS in the minute, but there's still a sort of legacy there of Nissan Leafs and PHEVs as well, and Mitsubishis and Lexus that have the Chanamo also. So we won't obviously be able to cater for everybody, but again, as time moves on, the CCS will become more dominant, and you'll probably see that in a lot of the chargers also itself. There's also potential for some sort of mini hubs, as it were. I don't really want to call them a hub as such, because obviously, you're looking at maybe half a dozen or more chargers to give that term. But certainly, we're looking at areas where we can possibly put in just 4 chargers itself, possibly 3 or 4 that are going to obviously incorporate more capacity that's allowed there to facilitate that. So there could be the potential to look at those as well, which is good. But it's similar to what I said about scaling up on the chargers also. It'll depend on what power is available at those locations. So we at the minute, as we're not able to sort of mention any particular one until they've completely got across the line in terms of being connected to the grid and everything is ready to be installed before we can totally announce, because obviously we want to give that to our partners and to our locations and stuff as well, to say that they're installing chargers at these points. But that'll come on to, I suppose, my next slide. You might have seen something similar before from the guys at ASB. Obviously, there is a bit of a challenge. There is a bit of a process, and it's something that all charge point operators have to sort of go through and follow to get to that point of actually having chargers installed that are networked and that work and basically are available for the public to use. So it is a long process, unfortunately, as Mark alluded to as well. There's time and there's costs, etc., involved to actually get to that point. So it starts off, I suppose, where we'll look at the data, we'll look at the location and the areas that we want to go to, and speak to those site owners, those businesses that we're looking at sort of locating and putting our chargers into itself. And once you get to that point, which can take a while, obviously, then grid connection is the next thing. Grid connection from NIE, we've been quoted different times itself. We don't want to grumble or whatever, but it's one of the biggest thing between us getting chargers in the ground is actually getting connection to the grid. And to be fair to NIE, obviously there's a lot to do. They need to make sure that the grid capacity is there and it's not going to overload, and everything that's within that area is gonna work as it does once the capacity increases as more and more people charge and more EVs become available also. So it needs to be right, to be fair, but you're talking 4 months possibly before you can actually get a connection, which is a big challenge. So the main on that sort of graph or chart, as it were, is the first 3 points. Once you've got sort of your plan permission and connection to a substation, if you can, done itself as well, then the next thing is getting chargers installed. So we've plenty of chargers. We want to install them as many places as possible. So that's quick and easy. Once we get the installation guys in and the connection to the grid done, it's all tested, it's all set up, it's all ready to go. And then we look at obviously the areas itself, sort of make sure that, as I said, it's accessible and wheelchair friendly. Getting all the parking spaces marked and the signage involved so that those spaces don't get iced, as it were, and just making sure they're as visible as possible so that everybody knows they're for EV drivers. And then, of course, at the far end, then you've got the maintenance, which we have a 24-hour support helpline and maintenance team that are able to call out if there's anything that needs done as well. But most of that stuff is remote as well, which is the beauty of the products that we use. With Tritium and E-Trail, we can actually dial in and reset them on some occasions if we need to, which is good. And the back office as well, which is important in terms of making sure we have people subscribing and getting all their data and information, and speaking to them if we need to as well, in terms of support, and also in terms of collecting money and revenue for the partners, and then reimbursing them, as it were, also. Again, we've identified the areas. We've been speaking to sites and looking at different sectors and locations as well. So to be honest, we're still looking for sites. As we want to build a network across Northern Ireland as much as we can, both DC and AC, but we are offering free DC rapid chargers to ID locations, provided that they, that they are, as I said, in this sort of convenient, comfortable, safe car park locations. Providing that the electricity can be provided, we will install the chargers itself on a lease term also. And it's the same with the AC chargers. We'll work with partners to look at some revenue share options there with them to provide AC chargers in many locations, as I mentioned, sort of hotels and car parks and leisure and retail, hospitality as well. So some places can have a mix, but there's lots of business models there to try and work with people to get them installed basically and get them connected and operating as we build the EasyGo network. So yeah, as I say, if you visit our website easygo.co.uk or reach out, get in touch with us through any of the guys at EVA NI, or give us a call or email, just sales@easygo.co.uk. Certainly we'll be keen to speak to anybody and do a free site survey for them to look at installing chargers across the province. One last thing, just conscious of time and not take too long, is I'd mentioned earlier about the complete fleet solution. So we have EasyGo cards or fobs, as it were, pre-prepared. And these can be used by companies and businesses that are obviously looking to transition their fleet to electric vehicles. So it's quite a unique, I suppose, proposition that we have. We've worked with loads of companies, as mentioned, Post and Pfizer and Bord Gáis, and a lot more down south, Bord na Móna as well. As they transition their fleet, as I mentioned, they basically get cards and fobs for their staff, which they can use once we install the chargers at their home and their workplace. And then obviously there's a public charger. So the fobs can be used on all three of those. And then the back office system will gather and collect the data that will sort of allow the fleet manager to go into the portal and see how much that user has been charging at home or how much they've been charging in the public network or at work and how much it's costing them. Basically, they can either reimburse them for their charging costs, or they can obviously advise them to charge more at home and try and keep costs down, obviously, or charge at work itself as well. It just basically gives it an overarching view as well for detailed reporting and accounting itself. So that's something that's been very successful. I've been working with a lot of companies, as I said, they transition their fleet to electric vehicles as well. So it's a good one that we're able to do, as I mentioned, install it at the home, the workplace, and in public. But that's it for now. Hope I haven't gone over time too much, 20 minutes obviously. But yeah, if you want to reach out, by all means, we'll be happy to speak to anybody as we try and grow the network.
Thank you, Garrett. Great presentation. A couple of questions coming in on the comments. I know you might not be able to talk about the sites that are getting DC fast chargers, but would you have a time frame when we can expect the first of those DC fast chargers being coming online?
Yes,
Ballpark.
absolutely. Yeah. Obviously, going back to that that sort of graphic, as it were, in terms of the time for connecting to the grid. The grid connection is the biggest time constraint itself. I think it said there's 4 months sometimes from NIE, which can be frustrating for for everybody. We were hoping to get our first ones live, hopefully this month, but hopefully we're now into the end of May, so it's all dependent on when we can get connections to the grid. So once that sort of has been given a complete green light, we can go live with some sites, but hopefully not in the too distant future. By the middle of the summer, we'd start to like to see some going live itself and take shape from there, hopefully.
Excellent. And the other question we have coming in is, with those DC rapid sites, single or double units, or even up to the 4, as you were saying, do you think you'll have provision for AC charging as well? Because obviously there are some Renaults always on the road and others that wouldn't have DC capability. Do you think you'll have provision for AC charging at some of those sites?
Certainly, if the site owners are open, to that, if there's enough power, enough capacity, etc., there to work with it. We've done that with a lot of hotels. For example, they would have DC chargers for people maybe staying at the restaurant for a shorter period of time, or a gym facility, for example, and then the AC chargers for their guests that are obviously staying overnight, sort of thing. So it depends. As I said, there's a number of business models there, and we'll work with anybody to do what we can. It's not necessarily just going to be one or the other. So if we can, where we can, we'll try and we'll try and make sure there's more than one. But it's trying to get them out there to as many places as possible, really.
Gareth, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great to see Gareth talking about contactless payment on as well as the app. And now that's going to roll us into poll number 2. So my glamorous assistant Darren is going to bring up poll number 2, which is your preferred method of payment. Number 1, contactless debit or credit card, chip and pin debit or credit card, RFID or a fob, a mobile app, charge and go, just plug it in, and that OCPP 2.0.1 protocol is coming down the line, or other. I know sometimes with networks that if you have signed up and you do use the app or the RFID, you might get a cheaper rate. So there is also that consideration, but contactless seems to be winning at the moment, and I think it will. We are at 66% of people have participated. So if you haven't participated, pop in your answer. Otherwise, I have to keep talking. But contactless, which will be on your phone, or on your watch, or just by the card itself, I think is going to win the day. We are 90% participated. So thank you for those that have answered that poll. But yeah, contactless, and definitely people want that convenience. And then charge and go, which will be coming in a very close joint second there, as well as the mobile app, which sometimes you have to jump onto anyway because of the availability, etc., etc. Thank you again, Gareth and the team at EasyGo. Next up, we have Mark Boyle, who is going to give us our Treasurer's Report. Thank you, Mark.
There we go. Okay, thank you very much. So first of all, a special shout out to Alistair Cook from ASM Chartered Accountants in Dungannon, who's helped us prepare the accounts for filing with Companies House. So these are the draft figures that we have just before we file them. So we'll start with income. We have a very good £5,189. Right, so that membership, that income is coming from corporate membership and just normal membership. That is split probably about 2/3 corporate membership. So again, thanks for all the support that we've had from our members, and the financial support as well, which has allowed us to do some of the promotional activities, which takes us into the expenses. You've heard we've joined Zemo, which is a small expense there. There's some costs associated with hosting the website and having our Zoom facilities that allows us to host these calls. And then we've generated some promotional materials. So you'll have seen the flags, the banners, the signs, some of the printed material. So some of that will be non-recurring spend, because once we have those, we can reuse them. And we continue to look at how we can use some of those materials and some of this money for further promotional materials and activities. Then some expenses around Companies House and card fees, which takes us to the grand total there of £1,896 in our expenses. And that leaves us with a final balance of £3,293. So again, thanks for all your support and the money that we've gathered in, and we look to see how we can use this to do some more of our promotional material, which is one of our core tenets. So thank you very much.
Looking forward to seeing that growing this year with more corporate members and more paid members. And that's a reminder that if you aren't already a paid member of the EV Association Northern Ireland, please pop onto the website. There's different levels there, but we'd love to see more paid people. You'll be able to get more of a voice within the organization. Next up, we have poll number 3, and Darren is going to give us poll number 3. So normal range. What is the normal range achievable with your EV that you're currently driving? Under 100 miles, 100 to 150 miles, 151 to 200, 201 to 250, 250 to 300, or are you in those lucky few that gets over 300 miles worth of range? for your EV. And last option, you might be just EV curious, and it's great to have you along here tonight. I don't have an EV yet. And we look forward to, if you've got any questions, make sure you reach out to any of the committee members if you're looking to see which is the best EV to go for that might suit you. So nearly 90% of people, and the sweet spot seems to be between 150 and 200, closely followed by the 200 to 300 range in joint second. So yeah, some great ranges there. And if you've got the ability to charge at home, you're going to get across any area within the Northern Ireland region within those kind of ranges, which is phenomenal, but we still definitely want that charging network upgraded. So that was poll number 3. We'll have all of these answers saved, and we will be adding them to our data set here at the association. Next up, we have Pamela Arthurs, who is going to give us a presentation and an update on the FASTER project, which we're really excited about here at EVA Northern Ireland. So Pamela, welcome.
Thanks very much. Okay, well, look, thanks everybody, and thanks Mark for inviting me along this evening, you know, to your first AGM. My name's Pamela Arthurs, and I'm Chief Executive Officer of East Border Region. What is East Border Region? I hear most of you saying. It's a cross-border local authority-led grouping that involves 6 local authorities, 3 here in Northern Ireland and 3 in the Republic, so Louth, Monaghan, Meath. You have Newry, Down, Ards, Banbridge, Craig, Avon, and Ards North Down. So we've been in existence for almost 50 years now, and the main aim is to attract cross-border funding to meet our cross-border needs within the region. We are most importantly concerned about the people of our region and that we are delivering for them. In terms of you know, EU funding, that has primarily been where we have attracted funding for the range of activities that we do. We're currently, as an organisation, involved in 9 strategic Interreg projects to the value of €104 million. And this project FASTER is one of them. So FASTER, in a nutshell, it's facilitating a sustainable transition to EVs, to electric vehicles in the regions of the western coast of Scotland, the border counties, if we can just go back one, the border counties of Ireland, and in the whole of Northern Ireland, and to support the shared ambition to transition to low carbon transport systems and to share regional learnings. So the project has been awarded €6.4 million approximately from the Interreg 5A programme. Some of you will have heard about it. You've got your PEACE programme as well, and it's managed by the Special EU Programmes Body. So what we're charged with doing is providing a necklace of fast, rapid chargers basically along the west coast of Scotland, from Larne in Northern Ireland, right along to the border, and then across from Newry, right across to Derry. And similarly, across the border, you'll have a range of sites as well. So we'll have, in effect, a necklace of sites, and there should not be range anxiety between the sites that we have. So we've a number of partners to help us to implement the project. We have Southwest College, and they're concerned primarily about the whole behavioural change element, raising awareness of electric vehicles, encouraging the switch to electric vehicles. So that's a whole body of work. But then we have Ulster University, and they are working on the Northern Ireland site selection, working with us there. Louth County Council in Ireland, and they are working on behalf of the 6 border councils there in terms of the identification of the sites and the implementation, the rollout there in Ireland. Dundalk Institute of Technology have also played a pivotal role to date in terms of assessing the sites, you know, the grid capacity, etc., and if sites are suitable or not. The University of Strathclyde, which does a similar job in Scotland. And then Hightrans is the arm's length body of the Scottish government, which is responsible here for the implementation on the west coast of Scotland. Now, this is a project, we can only install the chargers on local authority owned land. So that's where we would differ from Gareth there from EasyGo. We can only use local authority owned land. And we have 14 local authorities working with us in Northern Ireland and in the Republic in terms of helping us with the sites in their particular areas. We've also got Sligo IT, and then the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland is another associate partner. So we go to the next slide. Yeah, no, the key deliverables. Yeah, so this is what we have to do. We have to implement the rollout and the installation of 73 rapid. So 50 kilowatt capacity or higher is what we have to do. Charging points across the 3 areas. So you have roughly 24, 25 points per region. Now, I know from conversations I've had before that 25 rapid chargers in Northern Ireland would almost double the rapid charge capacity that we have at the minute. So the project then is currently scheduled to be completed by May 23. It won't be completed by May 23. We have an application in to extend the project to December 23. We're hopeful that that will be approved, but we will need that time in order to deliver the 73. And there's a range, number of reasons for that. Gareth has referred to, the connection times with, once you actually have the charger installed, but also we're constrained by the fact that this is EU funding and there's so many rules and regulations that we must adhere to in terms of that. So it's a slow enough process, but it will be complete by December 23. We move to the next slide. Yeah, so what's the current status? Now in May 22, Scotland have identified their sites and their initial assessments have been completed, and they've actually put the tender out, and it's actually being assessed as we speak. Now, again, if you think about the west coast of Scotland, you have, the Highlands and Islands, for example, of Scotland, so less populated areas, but maybe, there's tourism activity or whatever, so you have a particular terrain there that the chargers will go on in Scotland. So they are ahead as such in that their tender is about to be awarded, hopefully in the next few weeks. If we look at Ireland, the 6 border councils there, the site selection has been done, initial assessments have been completed on those sites, and all of the sites, because this is EU funded with match funding from the Northern Ireland Executive and the Department of Transport in Dublin, all of the sites have to be approved by the departments, and indeed as the Scottish ones were, because they're all involved in respect of the funding. So that has happened in Ireland, and we're basically now looking at the preparation of the tender to go out in Ireland. Northern Ireland, I know you're more concerned about. We have completed the site selection. We were constrained in the sites that we could pick in Northern Ireland because it had to be on the council, the local authority owned land, but it couldn't be on the car parks, which local authorities own now, because back in 1996, the Department of Regional Development had handed over their sites to local authorities. but the local authorities only legally can charge for car parking on the car parks. Now that's a question of just changing that policy, which you'd think would be a simple thing, but it needs to go through the Department for Infrastructure and the Minister and all of that. So really those sites were out. They would have been probably our preferable spots in a number of areas. But what we have ended up with is leisure centres. So leisure centres really across the necklace. If you start looking from Larne right along the border and then across down as far as Newry and across. And those sites, there's a few more things we need to do there before we have them public, but they're in leisure centres right across. So different too, and hopefully complementing the work of Gareth and EasyGo. So the Department for Infrastructure have approved them. We've also got some reserves. But again, we'd be looking at a mix of single and double units. Where the grid capacity is there for the double units, we will go for that. We'll also have, they will have be CCS and Shadamo as well, because again, I think we're conscious that you've still got a number of the cars which require the Shadamo. But we're led to believe from some of the providers, and Gareth, you can keep me right on this, that at a later stage you can merely then just switch out the Shadamo for another CCS or whatever. So that's where we're at with those. We're hoping that we will be going out, it'll probably be August, September now, out the tenders. We've had to do 3 separate tenders as well. It's just the way it has happened. It hasn't been possible to do one. So we'd be hopeful that throughout the course of 2023, we're installing the chargers here in Northern Ireland. The next slide then. So alongside that, and as I say, it is complex, and again, Gareth, you will appreciate that, working across 3 jurisdictions and working within the constraints of an EU funded project, but that's what we have to do. But alongside that then, and again, Southwest College, Donald Monaghan has been very proactive in terms of raising the profile around the project and around EV charging. And again, there you'll see we've got the website now with the different tips and whatever, and hopefully you're all maybe familiar with that at this stage. Social media content on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, the whole thing. Next slide. And then we're also doing media campaigns. And again, Southwest College have recently contracted Crow Group to deliver media buying, public relations, event support services on behalf of the Faster project. And the first campaign will roll out later this summer. And we launched last year on World EV Day in September. And again, we're hoping to have a number of events around World EV Day. As we start to install chargers, obviously that will give us the hook really to put events around as well. And all of these media campaign will coincide with the launch of the charging stations in each region. We are working very well with our partners and all of the local authorities, and they are all keen to move this forward. And then launched in April were the webinars. So ourselves in Southwest are delivering a series of monthly webinars hosted by Dr. Ewan McTurk, covering a wide range of the EV related topics. And they're again designed to increase the awareness of the project and encourage the use. Ultimately, really, it's encouraging the use of the EVs across the region. The next slide. So finally, I just want to finish with a wee, it's only a very short 1.5 minute video. So it's a new film series which is presented by Rick and Generate Media and Dr. Ewan McTurk to showcase the range of EV options, dispel any misinformation, and encourage further support for EV use across the Interreg area. And by that, I mean the west coast of Scotland, Northern Ireland, and the 6 border councils in Ireland. So if you want to just start the
FASTER project, which is a European funded project that's delivering 73 very much needed fast and high power chargers across the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland and the west of Scotland.
So yeah, we're delighted that we have Dr. Ewan McTurk working with us on the project, and Ewan is hosting a series of monthly webinars for us, and he's also going to produce a series of films with yourselves, which will really, I suppose, educate the public in terms of the benefits of electric vehicles. So we're really trying to boost the numbers of electric vehicle drivers, particularly in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, but also in parts of Scotland that may not yet have moved towards electric vehicle use.
So we're working with, well, I'm working with Generate Media, the absolute legends behind the camera just now, who are going to be putting together a series of films for electric vehicle reviews, because this is all about getting people into EVs and showing them that it's not like noddy cars or milk floats. That there are just such a large number, a broad selection of EVs out there, and our intention is to show you 10 of the best new and used examples available. Everything from tiny little city cars up to big sturdy vans.
Yeah, we're absolutely buzzing to be working with Donald and the team at the FASTER project, but very much looking forward to working with Ewan McTurk to bring this series of electric cars to the masses.
Thanks, Pamela. Couple of questions are coming on the chat. We won't keep you too long. I know you said 50 kilowatt plus. Do we have an understanding as to how fast that will go for a FASTER project? Do we know how powerful those chargers will be? Or are you just putting in a kind of a guidance that it'll at least be a 50 kilowatt?
The guidance is it must be at least 50. So again, as a procurement, we'd be looking at that as well, but we would have that option.
Lovely. The association in Northern Ireland with regards to the leisure centre, some people are concerned about access at 24 hours because it's leisure centres. Does that mean that there'll be opening hours, or will they be situated in such a place where people will be able to use them during the night if they need to? Yeah, it is a condition of the project that they need to have 24/7 access. They also need to have be well lit. They need to be safe. You know, all of the factors again that has been highlighted by Gareth are also important in terms of ourselves. So yes, I mean, we've had to switch, you know, some sites that we know we've got great capacity, but we've had to move because they didn't have 24/7 access. So absolutely. And again, you know, I should have said we're looking at contactless payment across all of the 73 across the 3 jurisdictions. That'll be a feature as well. Perfect. Last question for you, Pamela, is the funding for the FASTER project only for capital expenditure? Will the network be run as a standalone commercial venture then after that? Yeah, basically the funding is there to install and have the 73 chargers there and up and running. Then as part of the contract, the successful contractor will then operate and maintain the sites for 5 years. And we want to say clearly, you know, because what we don't want is a situation where you know, the maintenance is slow or anything like that. We don't want that to happen. So initial 5 years with the option for an additional 5 years if you know, if all is going smoothly and they're meeting their key performance indicators, etc. So maintenance and downtime will be taken into consideration for that. So it's in their interest that they're operational sites. That they are, but I mean, they have an advantage because they don't have to pay for, you know, the infrastructure. The infrastructure will be there and ready to go. But yes, it's in none of our interests that this doesn't work well. And yes, the operation and the maintenance is something that we, and clearly again, for the successful contractor, we will have an agreement there with them as to what they need to do throughout the course of the 5 years. And as you say, if they're not performing, they won't have that option. You know, they won't be successful in securing the additional 5 years. Great. We saw what happened in the UK over in the mainland with regards to the electric highway. It was great at the initial, but then the upkeep and maintenance was their downfall. But it's great now that they've got the infrastructure in place as well. Pamela, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to seeing the update from the FASTER project. We have another poll, folks. We're going to keep your fingers busy. That's poll number 4. Thank you, Pamela. Home charger. Do you have a home charger? No. Yes, it's a 3-pin granny. I don't like calling it that. It's ageist. Domestic lead. It's a 7 kilowatt or less dedicated unit. So the original ones would have been 3-point-odd kilowatts. Are you lucky enough to have 3-phase, 22 kilowatt dedicated unit or other? Is another one. Yes, but I don't know which one I have, and that's fine if you don't. So a couple of different options there. It seems that the 7 kilowatt one is leading, but we have some lucky people out there that have 22 kilowatts. But I suppose they're only lucky if the car that they're driving can take that as well. So a couple of different limiting factors if you are looking to charge at home, what the charger can put out, the cable that you're using, some people forget that, but also then what your car can actually take on AC. Majority of people have answered, and it is 7 kilowatts seems to be the main one, but there are some people out there with 22 kilowatts or 3-phase. Sometimes it would be an agricultural setting, or a business setting would usually have 3-phase as well. So thank you very much for that. And moving on to the next point on the agenda, we have the committee report with Ronan. We'll hand over to you. Thank you, Ronan.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks, Darren. Okay, so just go on to the next slide, Darren, please. So the focus at the start when EVANI was set up was really on the lobbying side, on talking to stakeholders and as Mark alluded to earlier, trying to improve the network. And with the pandemic making in-person meetups difficult or impossible, since things have eased off and since setting up EVANI, we've tried to develop the membership side of the organization better with events, outreach, advice, etc. The behind the scenes work has taken up a lot of the directors' bandwidth. Certainly, you wouldn't believe the amount of work that those guys put in behind the scenes. It's like a duck with the feet under the water. But to really build a membership organization, the key is getting the members involved. And ultimately, this is the point of EVANI. No one's getting paid to do this, so it's all about volunteers. So to that end, a committee has been set up. I'll admit that I haven't had as much time to help as I would like. I work on the other side of things on the grid, causing some of those delays. So trying to do something about that. But we've had Rachel, Andrew, Damien, Michael, and Derek join in the last year, bringing a range of views and expertise and helping us widen the reach of EVANI. Now, the main aim of the committee are these 4 points, and I'll particularly emphasize that second point, providing a balanced advice and guidance, as diversity of backgrounds and expertise is a key part of this. As an organization, we'd be failing if all we were electrical engineers and people from the motor industry. So what we really want is a diversity of viewpoints, people with all levels of experience, people who are new to EVs even. Because when you're an EV enthusiast, when you've been at this a while, it's easy to forget how different the transition is for a lot of people coming from internal combustion engine cars. With regard to public meetings, the committee organised with Fleet Financial the meetup in Mollusk on the 7th of May, which was by all accounts a great success. I missed it due to COVID, but we'd like to do more events like this in the future. Next slide, please. So we have a full complement of committee members at the minute, but as was mentioned earlier, we will be looking for some more help soon. Committee members must be active individual full members, and what we really need is people who have a couple of hours a week to give. And something we're really missing at the minute is someone or anyone who's free during the day, midweek. We get invitations to a lot of meetings and a lot of events. By their nature, a lot of these are during the week, but since the directors and the committee are all volunteers, most of us are working full time, and midweek meetings, during the day meetings aren't exactly convenient. So if anyone out there is wants to get involved does have that flexibility, particularly, we'd be very interested in talking to yourselves. And last slide, please. So, yeah, that's my email address. I think hello@evani.uk was up earlier as well. If you email either of those and you're interested in getting involved, go ahead. As I said, we have a full complement at the minute, but we will definitely be looking for some more input soon as we're trying to develop our program events and expand more beyond just the lobbying side and the representing the members. And that's just a very quick overview of that. That's everything I have for now.
Thanks very much, Ronan. We have our last poll of the night, folks, and thank you very much for that. We're running slightly over, apologies. I was ambitious with an 8 o'clock finish, but listen, we'll get there soon. Last poll of the night: which charging point will you use when payment for charging and overstay fees are introduced? Which of the following would likely use the most? And everybody's happy about these fees coming in. Home or work chargers, will you use the public fast 22 kilowatt charge points? So that'll be the AC when you bring your own cable. The public rapids, which are the 50s to the 75s. The ultra rapids, which are 100 kilowatt to 150, or the hyper. Now there's a wish list there of chargers that we're looking for in Northern Ireland, but and we'll take them all as they're coming in. But where will you be charging your electric vehicle or electrified vehicle? It looks like home or work. It doesn't seem that there's going to be too many using the AC22s, the fast chargers. But yeah, some of the rapids and the ultra rapids, and everybody's scared of the hypers at the moment. So great to see it. And thank you very much for participating in the polls tonight. Next up, we have Darren giving us our membership report.
Okay, so there's only about 15 or 16 slides here. I'm joking, there's only a few, so I'll not keep it too much longer. So as was said, we launched in November or in August 2021, and this is the summary of our membership. Facebook is quite significant. We've got almost 1,900 Facebook members, 1,652 of which are actively engaged, 88%. That's over the last 30 days. There's almost 100 posts per month and almost 1,200 comments per month, and a slight graph there from Facebook detailing that. There's 3 tiers of our EVANI membership as well. So you've got your Facebook members, 1,900. That's a good percentage of the 8,500 cars that was reported earlier on. But we also have EVANI, and the EVANI membership is quite important too. We've got 3 tiers: full members, associate members, and corporate members. Right now, we've got 168 full members, 106 associate members, and 13 corporate members. The full members is the £10 a year tier, and we thank our members for making that contribution. And associate members are the free ones that are also there. So our EVAN membership is about 290 members at the minute, which is about 15% of our Facebook. We'd like to grow that more as well, because our stakeholder engagement is important to represent as many as possible, and having people signed up like that, especially around the associate membership, would be really useful. This is a breakdown since August 21 of just to show the growth of our Facebook growth there. Started off at 1,109 in August 21, and now we're nearly 1,900. And then our EVANI official membership growing there. Started in the initial months about 5% and has been growing as a percentage of the Facebook memberships there, up to 15% currently. So we are growing there, and it's a good number that we have, and a decent percentage. But we'd like to grow the EVANI members more if that was possible. Just a wee breakdown of the actual detail on the membership there. So that's a month by month growth. You can see the 290. Obviously, as we launched, an initial spike there, and then sort of plateaued. The odd spike in November 21 was interesting. We got a lot of members then on Facebook and on EVANI. There must have been some radio or TV show where we were mentioned. So you get the odd spike there, but it seems a fairly steady growth there. May obviously looks low, but it was only a part month in this report. So that's our membership there. So our focus for 22-23 is More official members. We want to get more people on to the EVANI. So if you can spread the word with people that you know. Obviously, everyone on the call tonight are EVANI members, but if you know anyone with an electric car, get them to sign up on the EVANI, onto even the free associate member. That would be a real benefit for us. Members meetings. We want to organise more members meetings and also grow the benefits of membership with discount codes for sites. We've got some of those coming very shortly. And then more public meetings, and then that's where the requests from Ronan for the committee, our excellent committee members now, that we might look to grow that soon as well, because we want to do more and more public meetings. That's the membership presentation. And back to Derek, just to close us out.
Thanks, Darren, and thanks everybody for coming along this evening. I know there's lots of other things you can be doing on a Tuesday evening, but it really does make a difference to everybody on the committee to see the support. We've had nearly 30 people on the Zoom call here tonight, so it's great to see it. Lots of interesting presentations as well from Gareth, from EasyGo, and from also the Faster project, which was Pamela. Make sure that you share and complete the 2022 survey that's going to hit your inboxes in the next couple of weeks. We'd love to get that information and be able to share that back to the relevant stakeholders as well. So make sure that when you see it, you fill it in, but also you share to your friends and your family that you know are thinking about buying an EV or already have an EV. That has been the inaugural AGM of the EV Association of Northern Ireland. It'll always be as smooth and as swift as this in the future, I'm sure, but really do appreciate your time. Have a great evening, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you at future member meetings, but also some public meetings that we're planning as well in the works. Make sure you reach out if you can offer any help to the committee for any of those as well. Thanks very much. Have a great evening.